So the FBI needs a complete overhaul. The left has weaponized it to the point where its sole purpose seems to be to inflict pain on conservatives to the detriment of the people. While rogue FBI agents served its left-wing partisan leaders, like the now infamous James Comey, real victims suffered because they were ignored while heinous crimes were being committed against them. Why? Because agents were so focused on Trump and Russian collusion, they ignored the people who needed them most.
We suffered and continue to suffer because no one at FBI, USAG, or the USOPC did what was necessary to protect us. We have been failed, and we deserve answers. Nassar is where he belongs, but those who enabled him deserve to be held accountable.
All right, so that is gymnastic legend Simone Biles at a Senate Judiciary hearing, ripping the FBI over its botched investigation into the former USA Gymnastics team Dr. Larry Nassar, who is now finally serving a multi-decade sentence for his history of abuse and child molestation. But by all accounts, he should have been in prison a long time ago, long before now. I believe the FBI, in its quest to derail then-candidate Trump by concocting that bogus Russian collusion hoax of an investigation, turned its back on the most vulnerable, victims of sexual abuse like these gymnasts.
Not only did the FBI not report my abuse, but when they eventually documented my report 17 months later, they made entirely false claims about what I said.
Can you imagine? Does that sound familiar to you? This is what happened to Trump witnesses. Agents doctored interview transcripts, buried evidence that would have cleared President Trump and his allies caught in the FBI's web of lies. The FBI protected the elite ruling class, the Obama, Clinton, Biden axis of corruption. It's now clear agents don't care about the truth or protecting anyone, not even our American gymnast superstars. And if they won't protect them, do you really think they'll protect you?
The FBI, USOC, and USAG sat idly by as dozens of girls and women continued to be molested by Larry Nassar. They had legal, legitimate evidence of child abuse and did nothing. These FBI agents have committed an obvious crime. They falsified my statement, and that is illegal in itself.
It's absolutely disgusting. The agents involved in this should all be prosecuted, just as the agents in the Trump-Russian collusion hoax should be prosecuted. In many respects, this case, though, is far worse than the Russian collusion hoax, because agents allowed a child molester, a predator, to victimize and, yes, even rape teen girls. The stories were heart-wrenching to hear today. How could any human being allow that to continue, especially an officer of the law? And this is all FBI Director Christopher Wray has to say in response to these women's testimony today.
What's missing? What am I missing here? This is like a child kidnapping case. This man is on the loose molesting children, and it appears that it's being lost in the paperwork of the agency.
I don't have a good explanation for you. It is utterly jarring to me.
Oh, give me a break. You don't have a good explanation. This all started in 2015. Now we're here in 2021. He has an explanation, though, you know, folks. He just can't admit it. The explanation is that the FBI committed itself to one thing and one thing only: the ouster of President Trump, all because a corrupt Democrat Party weaponized the FBI to wage political war on its foes. So in many ways, Hillary Clinton and the rest of her Russia-obsessed cronies should take some of the blame in this sexual abuse scandal, too.
If they're not going to protect me, I want to know, who are they trying to protect? The Department of Justice refused to prosecute these individuals. Why? Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco couldn't even bring herself to be here today. Why are public servants whose job is to protect getting away with this? This is not justice. Enough is enough.
Michaela Maroney is a true American hero. The strength she showed today to speak up, just like Simone Biles and the others, was impressive. But it's far too late. This should have happened a long time ago. Not their fault, our government's fault. Do you see the issue here? Just as the FBI's vindictive actions against political foes can destroy lives, just ask any one of President Trump's allies caught up in the FBI's anti-Trump scheme, the FBI's inaction can equally ruin lives. For the FBI, the Russian collusion hoax was absolutely all-consuming. Who can forget the Parkland shooting in 2018? Agents ignored warning signs and tips that the Parkland school shooter may soon act out. The FBI did nothing. 17 people are now dead because of that inaction too. Russia had infected the FBI and warped the minds of agents hell-bent on removing President Trump from office. Now, these women clearly still live with the trauma the FBI could have prevented.
The FBI issued no search warrants and made no arrests. The OIG report found that senior FBI officials lied to the Inspector General, engaged in serious conflicts of interest, and tried to cover up one of the biggest child sexual abuse scandals in the history of amateur sports.
Lies, lies, and cover-ups. One of the most respected agencies, the FBI, is now tarnished beyond repair. It is a disgrace. You know, every day on this program, I wear a law enforcement pin. Right here on this program. I wear it because I have so much respect for law enforcement. Do you know, I refuse to wear the pin of the FBI. I haven't in years because the FBI has been weaponized against the very people it should protect, the citizens of America. Well, joining me now is Republican Congressman of Texas and member of the House Judiciary Committee, Louis Gohmert is here. Congressman Gohmert, it's good to have you back on the program.
Great to be with you, Grant, and I so much appreciate your approach on this horrific story. And this is a pattern for the FBI. So thank you.
You know, absolutely, Congressman. I think they left real Americans hung out to dry in their quest to just overcome this agency. What would you like to see happen to the FBI? I say it needs a complete overhaul.
I'm not sure if it can be adequately overhauled now. I think there's been so much damage done between Mueller, Comey, and now Christopher Wray. And you talked about, you know, they're sweeping things under the rug. Christopher Wray, if President Trump had asked me about him before he appointed him, I would have told him the country's not safe if he's there. It's not a good idea. He was put in there to clean up the FBI, and all he's done is sweep stuff under the rug. And that is not the way to clean up. That's my opinion of how he's gone about doing this. And don't think for a minute there was one FBI agent, one, that knew anything about what these courageous gymnasts came forward, at least Simone back in 2015. That took incredible courage. And I can guarantee you that that didn't stop with one FBI agent. He immediately went to other agents, to his supervisor. He's required to do that, to pass this information. Oh my gosh, the U.S. Olympic Committee is doing, it's horrible what's going on. The doctor is molesting the girls. This is the allegation. This is serious. What are we going to do? One FBI agent would never have handled this on his or her own. You always discuss it. You pass it up. They pass it up. The decision not to pursue this didn't come from one lowly FBI agent. But once again, Christopher Wray sweeping it under the rug. I don't know who's holding the rug up so he can sweep it under there. But we need a full accounting on this and so many stories. You know, like with the FISA, the fraud on the FISA court. They left one FBI agent to take the whole rap for the top, all the way down to that FBI agent actually committing fraud upon the FISA court. And only one FBI agent who was allowed to leave the FBI, go get a better job. That was his punishment.
Yep.
Now, this is
Congressman.
so outrageous, though, to allow this to happen to these girls. We need a full cleaning out of the FBI. You could bring local constables in and do a better job than this.
You absolutely could. When you look at the history of the Russian collusion hoax, I talked about the Parkland shooting, you talked about the FISA warrants and the disgrace with that. Is there anybody that could be prosecuted for this? Because these girls suffered under the hands of this molester because of their inaction.
Yeah, I think there's a potential there. There's a potential possibly for even a liability suit if they were acting beyond the realm of their employment. Their job is to pass this information on. But we need to find out exactly who passed on the information to whom, what was done about it, how far up did this go? Because this kind of thing has potential to get all the way up to the Obama White House. We need to know how far up it went and how far up the decision was made to just sit on it and let this go. But you're right. You know, it was back in 2016 they were getting into the Russia.
Congressman, if it's like any of these other scandals out of the FBI, it goes pretty darn high up and straight to the Obama White House and the Hillary Clinton campaigns. So I appreciate you coming on, laying this out for us, Congressman Louis Gohmert. Always good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Always good to be with you. Thanks, Graham.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.